Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Just hanging out in a local park tonight. Gonna be here for a little bit while longer. Wanted to talk to everybody tonight about the magic of words and the spells that they put on us. And specifically, I want to talk about the word or term invoice that's made by the use of two words known as invoice. And if you saw my earlier post announcing my video here at 9 o'clock, you'll see it started out with the word or the term representative. And I've done a video on the term representative and where it's the root word is present, and then you add a prefix to it, makes it represent, and then the suffix that you add to it, and these are conditions put upon the word that make it a term that can be contracted back down to the truth. And that, people, is the magic of dispelling their fucked up language. Okay? And so when we think about the term invoice, I want you to understand it's a fictional language of numbers. Anytime somebody hands you an invoice, it's got a statement. Now when they hand you that statement of invoice, it's known as a bill. Now, if that bill has been paid off, they give you a billing statement. Why is it a billing statement? Because the bill has already been taken care of. The billing has already been done. It is no longer a statement of a bill. It is a billing statement. Okay? So when we think about the magic of words, I want you to understand. And I want to thank my brother Robert Johnson for this. I hope you're watching, or if you're not watching currently, you'll watch this video because I give credit to you for opening this up to me. It's the whole reason why I'm doing this video tonight. In the beginning was Word. That Word was with God. The Word was God. What's that word God mean? Really, what does that word God mean? I don't know. It's kind of incomprehensible to myself. It would almost be a piece of magic if I could explain it. So let's try something different. In beginning was Word, and the Word was with magic, and the Word was magic. Now think about that, people. If they're teaching you how to spell words, is there a spell on the words? and it might sound lunatic, insane to you, but it's the truth. It's the truth. In the beginning was Word. The Word was with truth. And the Word was truth. Fits right in with the word. In the beginning was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, now we have to discern what truth is. Well, that depends on the magic you're putting on the words. If you're dispelling the magic that's already been put on them. See, when we think about these terms and conditions put on the words, things like fend, I've discussed this one before as well. When you fend for yourself, the reason that you fend for yourself is because somebody is trying to offend you. They're trying to take off your ability to fend. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means They're trying to defend you. So let's think about that. Does a lawyer defend you? He most certainly does. He defends you by implying that you are the defendant, and he will now stand and fend for you. Who is you? Well, that's yourself and the defendant who has already been defended, and he can only stand up and fend for himself. If you hire him to defend you, that's exactly what he will do. He will defend you. When the defendant is the decedent and cannot fend for himself, and therefore has already been defended and is now named, identifiable and identified correctly as the defendant, whereas yourself is the one that is defended in the current now time, and the one that is fending is the attorney that you hired to do so. And when you learn how to correct these words, terms, conditions, and contract them down back to the truth, you wouldn't believe the magic that happens. That's my experience. So I want you to think about the invoice. Can you rebut the invoice by speaking word invoice without needing to reduce it and write it down when it's already upright? This kind of stuff you need to think about. I keep telling everybody, everything's backwards. Everything's backwards. You want to make these affidavits, that's fine. You want to make these land patents, that's fine. You want to make these declarations, that's fine. But when you write them down, you have to define them. I think they're already fine. Why would I want to define them? Understand the magic there? I think what I say, I think the words I use, I think they're just fine. I don't need to define them. I'm told in Genesis 17, verse 1, I am Almighty God. As long as you follow my way, thou shalt be blameless. So if in beginning was Word, and Word was with truth, and Word is truth, then let's break down all the contracts, all the conditions that are put on the words, the conditions that are put on the words, the prefixes and suffixes that change the meanings from verbs to transitive verbs to adverbs to pronouns to abstract nouns, whatever you want to do. But make sure you know what it is. I keep trying to tell people, everything's backwards. So when you start taking that shit off the paper, when you start taking the prefixes and suffixes off of the paper and getting down to the root words and see what the truth is, it's amazing. It's magical. Because then you understand, you're cognizant of the ability to speak it in words. So when that policy enforcer walks up and says, can you pull over? Well, what do you need me to pull over for? Well, you were driving down the middle of the street. Really? On my bike? So then he has to retract and say, well, actually, we were chasing a suspect that was running from us. Really? You just drove by my front door as I was coming out, consorted with your conspirators, and then try to present that you're chasing a suspect that was running from you? Obviously, I'm not out of breath, and you watched me walk out my front door and pull me over a half a block away? Come now. Okay, well, we're really here to talk to you about harboring fugitives. Okay, now I can understand what you're talking about. But let's be honest about it. What's harboring? Harboring is protecting. If I was protecting, I'd have them covered. There was no cover about it. They were out in public. They rented a public hotel room. I went to them. I didn't cover nothing but names and faces. Did a nice little video. And despite, again, understand the magic that happens when they threaten you with multiple years for sixth offense possession. And granted, I still got found guilty. What's guilty? Understand, I'm blameless. It's their oversight, their overreach, their extension of some supposed enforcement of right, or right of enforcement, but yet being threatened with multiple years and fending for myself throughout the whole thing. I got 60 days, was turned loose in 47, and when they tried to tell me I needed to sign release papers, I refused, and they recorded it on their own record, refused to sign, as they had done many times before, throughout the entire trial, refused to sign, plus 3.5 years prior to that of not signing nothing but UCC 1-308. And I want you people to understand, this is what's called establishing a record. Okay? Whether it be their record or my record, they're establishing their own record based on information that they get from interacting with myself. So upon being turned loose and still supposedly having an order to give a DNA sample and do a drug eval for that particular case, let alone the 11 other cases sitting there, all signed UCC 1-308 and then never showed up in court. And here I am. Magically, I exist in reality. And if their fiction had any enforcement at all, these interactions that I have with them, I'm not special. I certainly don't have anything to snitch about, because I could give a fuck less about anybody else or any of their rules. I'm only concerned with myself in being able to stand for myself so I can show others how to do it. And again, magically, here I am. While people sit there and try to profess that I'm supposed to subject myself to the law of nations, to the United States Code, to the Geneva Convention, to the Hague, to the IRS, to the Federal Reserve, to the Social Security Administration, to this fucking United States corporation. I don't have to give a fuck about none of them. So when they ask for information, so they can put it in the form like ID. Sorry, I don't have an ID. Well, what's your name? Well, I don't have a name either. Well, everybody's got a name. No, nobody's got a name, because a name belongs to a person that has no body. Imagine that. Only persons have names. Men have a calling. And I've been called Keith all my life. I hail from the kin little. And I hear I was born on August 20th, on or about in 1966, at Waterloo on Iowa, or excuse me, at Dubuque on Iowa. And so when you're able to break down all the terms and conditions to the truth of it, they can't deny it. See, that's the thing about no facts shall be tried in court. Well, that's because the court operates entirely on implications of their presumptions that you assume are true. So when you come forward with the facts that cannot be rebutted, it still holds true. No facts shall be tried in court. So when you bring true facts, the truth, by dispelling the magic on the words, the conditions placed upon the words, the magic of the prefixes and suffixes that make it a term, that when you contract it back down to its original truth, again, like I said, you'll see the magic happen. In beginning was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In beginning was the Word, and the Word was with truth, and the Word was truth. So in beginning was the Word, and the Word was with magic, and the Word was magic. You have to make your own magic simply by dispelling all the conditions put on the words yourself. And you can only do that by doing your research and knowing your truth. They all mean something different to everybody. If you want to be a representative because you're stuck in this society of commerce, then you need to understand the term representative so you can fill the capacity in the correct manner. Now, that correct manner is very ambiguous because there's over 8 million codes that determine how a person is supposed to act. A man does not act, a man behaves. Nine words, Masonic Gematria phrase. No fact or law shall be tried in court. Correct. And that's why this administrative process, this private administrative process is so important. Three times they acquiesce. That is law. You make a statement that they acquiesce to 3 times. They've now admitted that what you say is true. That's a fact. Now, when you state that, an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in law. An unrebutted affidavit stands sovereign in the law. Understand, you've created your law through the administrative process, and now you go to court. Your court. What's your court? Oh, gee. Let's look at that word invoice now. You'll see I posted a etymology of invoice. Invoice, and it says, see envoy. What's an envoy? Isn't that synonymous with entourage? Isn't that synonymous with a following? So if you have a following of your peers that all agree to the truth of the words, isn't that your law? So again, I hope you people understand how to speak invoice against the invoice. The invoice is a fictional thing. That's where you get your names, places, names of persons, places, and things. That's your nouns. And then, of course, they add the prefixes and suffixes to them to create various different forms by changing the spelling. and it changes the outcome. That's all they're doing. They're changing the spelling to change the outcome. And all you have to do is correct the spelling. And again, like I said, you'll see the magic happen. That's like inventory. Invent-ori. Isn't that kind of like oral? Isn't that kind of like making your own language? Inventing your own oral communication? Inventory. They tried to use that in my last trial. Tried to say they performed an inventory. Well, isn't an inventory a search? No, you're right. It's not a search. An inventory is either precept or subjective to the search. You have to have an inventory, which is a list of things to search for, or you have to create a list of things that you searched and found, or things that you found while searching. Yes, another nice one. Notice, notice, to not be enticed. Understand the magic of the words. Understand the spelling. Everything's backwards, people. And all you got to do is contract everything down. Commit to contracting. Commit to the contract. You want a contract? Okay. Let me contract defendant. Let me contract that down right for you, baby. Oh, you need some evidence? You need some witnesses? Tell you what, I got a 13-member council here of English lit majors. Oh, guess what else? I got a 13-member witness quorum that will get on that stand and testify. And they too are English lit majors. Hey, guess what? I got a jury of 13 peers that all understand concise English. That's the law. Truth. That's the magic. Truth. That's the God. You. Your words. The right words. Jurisdiction. You know these 7 elements of jurisdiction that they're required to have in order to compel the court to accept jurisdiction in venue and subject matter by claiming personal jurisdiction? Excuse me, but that person was created, granted by the state, but only because of my existence. I am the true spirit of the creation of the person. I'm not of this world. I am in this world. I am not of the fiction world, and I am not in the fiction world. I only exist in this world. And there ain't no magic about it. It's all truth. And remember, people, an invoice is a commercial instrument that is deceiving you in every manner. It's meant to make a profit off of the loss of another. That's not prospering, being abundant. So I hope you guys understand this. Hope you guys are paying attention. Phoenician, again, was the... and this is another quick point I want to make. You know, when we talk about this etymology, I'm big on the etiology, and epistemology, like I've reiterated many times. When it comes to etymology, you'll see a lot of our English words come from the Greek, okay? Now understand, the Greeks called the people that were known as Phoenicians, they called them Canaanites. This is mentioned in the Bible. They mention Canaanites in the Bible, but they don't mention Phoenicians. Truly they are known as Phoenicians, and that's where we get our word, or our term, definition. Define. Sorry, I think things are fine just the way they are. I don't need to define them. I don't need to reduce them down. I don't need to write them down. I think they're fine in truth. I don't think they need to be spelled. I can speak them clearly in voice. I don't need all these terms and conditions, or all these conditions put on the words to make terms of an invoice. So again, I urge you people to think about this stuff and get back to the root of everything. These judges, their jurisdictions start out with merchant jurisdiction, mercantile law. If you defeat them in mercantile law, then they move to admiralty law. If you defeat them in admiralty law, they are only stuck with the remaining canon law. Canon. Where'd we hear that word? Canaanites. So let's get back to the origin of the words. In beginning was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In beginning was the Word, and the Word was with truth, and the Word was truth. In the beginning was Word, and the Word was with magic, and the Word was magic. So let's start spelling this shit right. You know, like, use the right words. Hey, if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. It's time for me to head over and grab a couch. God bless you all. I love you. And have a good night. We'll see you next time.